And everyone, it's been a long, long time. It's been since last Tuesday since the last time we talked, and I had the urge, I had the itch. I couldn't scratch this itch without coming out and talking to you guys. So I figured, what worse way to spend my day than to come out and talk with you guys for. Um, we'll do a little bit of a recap, do a little bit of a discussion of what's been going on. I'll save a little bit of it for tomorrow night's show. Of course, I don't want to get too deep into the weeds on things. Don't want to cover all the topics, but we'll cover a good bit, of course. That's it's important. We're always providing you guys with something, anything, and finally, I didn't realize this before, but I finally got the YouTube stream back up. So those of you in the YouTube world, welcome in, and of course those of you on the Periscope world, thank you for joining in once again. I am Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. I thank you guys. First off, let's just say Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope you enjoyed it. If you don't celebrate anything, best of wishes to you and your family in this time. It's a good time. It's a great time. Hope you guys all enjoyed your time. Get a little personal real quick. I went down and I got to experience for the first time. I went down to, I believe it's called Disneyland. I believe Disney World's the one in California. I went to the one in Florida. If that's Disneyland, that's where I went to for the wonderful holidays. Beautiful time, beautiful experience there. My daughter's first time there as well. Went with the family, so great time. Glad to be back to come and spreading the truth and the beard to you guys. So, thank you guys all for joining in today. There's a couple things that have been going on. And feel free to call in, of course, 100%. I should probably put that number up there for you guys. There you go. The call-in number is right there, 802-671-5328. If you guys want to call in, you guys want to talk about anything and everything, it really is a nonchalant conversation. We'll talk about whatever it is that you guys desire. But one of the things that was really standing out to me, and that's been hitting a lot of people and been affecting a lot of people, is this government shutdown. And I've seen so many people get emotional about this. They get emotional that the government shut down and now people are affected. Right? 42,000 National Guard puddle hoppers, if you will. 42,000 people within the National Guard are working right now without pay. And so they were deemed essential personnel, therefore they have to work. And it's a big enough topic that it needs to be addressed. But it's not a big enough topic to where we need to become hysterical, become emotional, and allow that to really guide us with how we're supposed to view these things. There's a principled understanding when it comes to a government shutdown that obviously it is not just because of one person, it's not because of one entity, it's not because of one political affiliation, but it's because of everyone as a whole. I'm personally I'm okay with the government shutting down. Right, on a philosophical level, on a political level, on a principle level, I don't think that the government does a good job, and so I've never seen them to be warranting the idea that they get to be a forever destined entity to continue thriving and doing whatever it is that they desire to do. This is predicated on the idea that this current shutdown is about 8%. It's about 8 to 10% of the government being shut. So it's a very small marginal group of people that are affected by this. Not necessarily enough for us to really get all hot and bothered over it. But for the people that are directly affected, the people that are losing their money, that are not getting paychecks right now and they're waiting, whether they're being furloughed entirely and they're not going to work, or they're going to work and they're not getting paid, all of these people are going to get paid as soon as the government decides, hey, let's get back to it. Let's get the budget passed, and let's go on. President Trump is still saying, as recently as late as of the 25th, the day of Christmas, that he said we're not gonna come back unless I get my wall funded. You guys know my views on the wall, but he's taken a principled stance. And that's what he's doing, and it's fine. Right? He wants to stand for the wall. That was one of his campaign promises. So he wants the wall. Democrats are standing in obstruction to that. The Republicans obviously don't have enough polarity. Merry Christmas, Colleen. Hope you had a Merry Christmas as well. But, so you got people in opposition, you've got normal political discourse. If you were of the ilk, if you were of the party that stands against the wall, right, you encourage the Democrats to oppose this. So your voices are being heard. And then you have the people that are in favor of the wall. Your voices are being heard. And what we're seeing is just a giant clash. So as a result, what happens is the government shuts down and people are outraged over this. So there really is no way to please everybody. And this is another one of those calls that, hey, just maybe we should reduce what the government does, and maybe we can do things on our own. And this will bring us back to the individuals of this country funding the government, or at least funding an individual part of what the government is trying to do, and that is the GoFundMe account. So I'm sure a lot of you have seen the GoFundMe account that is going towards the wall. A couple $1 million raised already. I think the last time I checked, it was like $12 million raised for the wall, all by the hands of you. Which raises a bigger question. What can we fund through voluntary transactions, through voluntary donations? And we can fund anything and everything. Why is it that the government has to take from us? Why is it that the government has to take from us? If we can fund it ourselves, they shouldn't have to take from us. So if I don't agree with Planned Parenthood, stop taking my money to pay for it. If they can fund the eternal wars in Iraq and Afghanistan, they can fund those. Why do I have to pay for them? If I agree with something, I'm willing to put my money where my mouth is. And I would encourage each and every one of you to think the same way. You agree with something, you should be the first one to put your money up. You should be putting your paycheck up. Don't be saying, I'm in favor of this, so I'm going to take from this guy's paycheck. Right? So, on principle, I'm heavily in favor of the GoFundMe account for the wall. I'm not in favor of the wall, but I'm in favor of the principle there. Yeah. Americans knew the trillions spent on abhorrent things. Absolutely. Cut funding, period. You don't need to qualify it really any further than that. Cut the funding. Cut the funding. The government's not there to fund things. The government is there to act within the constraints of the Constitution, more specifically Article 1, Section 8. If it's not enumerated within there, it doesn't have the authority it doesn't have the authority delegated to them by the states in order to fund said things, said measures. Therefore, the power of the purse is not, and should not be used for those things, right? So it's on those bases, right? When it comes to the wall, yes, there are plenty of studies, there's plenty of analysis out there showing that, walls can be very effective. Here's an issue within that premise, though, is that a wall is only as effective as the legislation. So if we're just expecting a physical border, a physical barrier to be enough to prevent people from crossing the border, it's not going to be very difficult for somebody to say, yeah, you know what, we're going to cut the funding to ICE, we're going to cut the funding to Border Patrol, we're going to diminish this, and we're going to make it easy. So this is why it's important that you have concrete things. This is why, the amendment process is still within there. So if you make an amendment and you say, look, here's the illegal immigration policy, here it is in concrete, 100% accepted by the states, by a majority of states, that now illegal immigration is, a federal crime, a felony for violating, then we can move on with life. So it's whether you're in favor of the wall or not, I think that the base principle behind that is that you're against people illegally immigrating into a country. And I can be on board with that, the premise of that idea, right? The sovereignty of a nation should be more important than the necessity or the needs or the desires of an individual. So we all agree on that kind of premise, that the sovereignty is important and that the people within the country are important. But it's about the process of getting it structured and getting it put into concrete literature or enacted. And so the amendment process is the way to do that. And I think that certainly right now it is a winning topic. It is something that we can be looking at. And when you push for an amendment, you're pushing for an actual entity, regardless of how it's viewed in the future, it's much more difficult to go around, right? The 16th Amendment, the 17th Amendment were both amendments, obviously, to the Constitution, and it's very difficult for us to work around them because it's so concrete in there. So we need to have an amendment if that's what you so desire. But we've become the political... pardon me. We've become lazy in time. We've become so distant from the Constitution itself that we don't care about the constraints. We don't care about how it's functioning and how it's working. And I think that's a huge fundamental issue. I would love to see us move back to that. But Trump is working hard for his wall, and I applaud him for trying to maintain his promise. I'm not always on board. You guys know me. I'm not always on board with Trump. I don't think he always makes the best decision. Does what he does. While we talk about not being in favor of Trump, I'm even less in favor of the mainstream media, right? I see them in a strong negative light in a lot of ways, and they produced it, the very notion that I criticized them for, and they speak too soon and are plainly wrong most of the time. So what they said, and we saw this from NBC, we saw them come out and say President Trump is the first president since 2002 not to go to the Middle East. Oh no, around Christmas time was the important part. The next day he was already on the plane. He was over in Iraq and meeting with the troops. So they're so quick to jump on board with showing the anti-Trump rhetoric, with showing their Trump derangement syndrome, that when it smacks them in the face, they make a silent or very, 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 very quiet redaction, and they say, "Yeah, we were in the wrong. Let's change this up a little bit." They don't worry about the bigger picture. They don't worry about being honest. They don't worry about being right. They worry about being first. And that is seriously a fundamental issue. So President Trump did go there. It made the media look like a fool. We still have people to this day still tweeting it out, still sharing it out, still retweeting it, still pushing this narrative that Trump never went. Yes, Trump went there. But I think the bigger fundamental picture, right? And that is that since 2002, we've been at war in the Middle East. Is that not an issue for anyone? Is that not like a problem, right? Since 2001, we had the World Trade Towers go down, right? 9/11, 2001. In 2002, we started war. In 2002, George W. Bush, Mr. W., went over to Afghanistan and Iraq, and he met up with the troops, and he had a very honorable ceremony with the troops, and he congratulated them and thanked them for the service to the country. In 2003, he did the same. 2004, he did the same. 2005, he did the same. 2006, he did the same. 2007, he did the same. 2008, he did the same. And then 2009, Obama followed it up. 2010, Obama followed it up. 2010, Obama continued it, right? And they just continued this down. And now we're in 2018. 16 years later. And guess what? We're still worried about the President of the United States coming to go see the troops over in the Middle East. Now, it wouldn't be a problem. It wouldn't be as much of a problem if there was an objective standard there. If there was a reason to remain. But there isn't. How many times have we seen President Obama and President Trump both say that ISIS has been diminished, that they've been reduced, they're gone, that they're no longer a threat to the United States or her people? So if they're no longer a threat to us, what is the justification for keeping them there? And we found out when President Trump decided that he's going to pull troops out of Afghanistan, start pulling troops out of Afghanistan, and when he pulled out the troops from Syria, right, the 2,000 troops from Syria, we found out exactly why it is that we must keep them there. from the neocons such as Lindsey Graham, from the Democrats, from other Republicans, from the mainstream media, and that is that we have to remain there indefinitely just because there's an opportunity that somebody else can fill the void that America currently sits in. Despite the fact that the French, despite the fact that UN, despite the fact that the Germans, despite the fact that there's plenty of other nations out there that are willing to step up and take our places so that we can pull out. So people want to fill in our shoes, and we're worried about them filling our shoes. So instead, we need to keep our troops there. We need to keep our troops at risk of being killed by other entities that just simply want us out. And so the true colors have never been spoken before. So we've had anti-war Democrats. We've had Democrats that have stood on the grounds. Rachel Maddow said that, she even wrote a book about endless wars, about eternal wars that just continue on and on and on. But as soon as President Trump says, "Hey, we're going to pull out. We're going to rescind ourselves a little bit," the outrage, the hysteria was palpable. The complete just lunacy of we have to flip our stances and say that war is good. War is good. That we need to stay in the Middle East and make sure that these individuals are no longer capable, no longer able to come up under the threat of the American boots. We have to keep our boots on the ground. We have to keep our American people there in those countries. And I was so thankful to see President Trump pull us out of Syria and start rescinding some people from Afghanistan. And I think that we need to do more. We need to do more. Get us out of there. Get us out of the Middle East. Rescind those troops. Rescind the funding to Israel, to different Middle Eastern cultures. Rescind our funding to China. Rescind our funding to help out other nations. Start caring a little bit more about our national debt. Stop spending so much. Start taking the revenue that's been increasing despite the tax cuts. And let's see this country actually be fiscally responsible. Let's see the budget get balanced. Let's see us actually care for ourselves. But instead, what we have are people that are just nonsensical, that have no philosophical principle, that have no value. And the only premise in which they work on is, I am against Trump. Trump does this, I'm against Trump, therefore I'm against this. It's truly despicable. I love watching Lindsey Graham over time, because if we look at him over the last year, Lindsey Graham started out and everyone's like, "Oh, what a dirty neocon, he's just such a disgusting Republican, he's just a rhino, blah." And then Judge Kavanaugh comes through for the nomination process to become Justice Kavanaugh, and he pulls out a big political theater, and now Mr. Lindsey Graham is the greatest Republican ever. He's so pro-Trump. He's such a fantastic guy. I can't wait for him to run. I hope he runs as vice president one day. I hope he runs for president one day. He's just the greatest guy ever. And then President Trump pulls out of Syria and he goes, "I can't be a part of this." And now people are like, "Oh, he's just a rhino again. He's just a neocon." If your views changed on Lindsey Graham, I'm sorry to tell you this. You're not being an objective person. You're not a person that has a principle, right? You're not somebody who can slap wrists and pat backs. I can slap the wrist of Trump and pat him on the back in the same exact conversation. Yeah, Rand Paul 2020. I'd vote for Rand Paul over an. But if your views are that easily swayed on somebody, that in the matter of a year you can go from hating them to loving them to hating them, I would implore you to slow down, to think a little more rationally about what's actually happening. Use a little bit less emotions, and I would fear that you would be using a lot more idolatry in your worldview than you would the actual principles. So, and that was the other thing. 33 rule brings up the point the other big point that I wanted to talk about, and that was the Federal Reserve. You guys know me. Taxation is extortion. Taxation is slavery because we live in an uncivilized society. So I'm against taxation. as also I'm against the Fed, right? I want to audit the Fed, show the people what the Federal Reserve has done, which is neither a federal entity nor an entity that reserves anything. Audit them, release the audit to the people, show how disgusting and atrocious they are, and then end them. All it takes is a swipe of the pen from Congress. That's all it takes, because they have the power of controlling the currency, if you will. They delegated that to the Federal Reserve. So the Federal Reserve, if you guys look through Obama's entire tenure, his 8 years in office, the Federal Reserve did not increase the interest rates one bit. Why is that? So what the Federal Reserve has done historically is that when the economy is low, when it's slow, when it's not growing, when it's just in its bare bones and just struggling to keep its head above water, you would never increase the interest rates. But when the economy starts booming and starts growing and starts being robust and being able to handle things, right, it's good from their point of view to raise the interest rates. Now, what does this do? This discourages. It suppresses a little bit of the buying. It may encourage more people to buy homes, because as you see the interest rates raise, you'll see more people wanting to get it now rather than wait another year, wait another 2 years to get it at a higher interest rate. So you may get a little bit more people being homeowners while they're going up. But really, at the core principle, whenever they're raising the interest rates, we're seeing that we have a robust, thriving economy. And that is absolutely 100% true when it comes to the economy, of which they have raised the interest rates 4 times since President Trump. 4 times. And yeah, I agree with you, 33. I agree. The debt cannot be reconciled. So I understand why the Federal Reserve is doing this. I understand it. I'm against the Federal Reserve to begin with, right? I'm going to put my bias out there. I'm going to put my view on them out there. But what they're doing, right, is good for what they're wanting to do. It's good for their objective. It's consistent with what they've done in the past, right? It does hurt a little bit, because it does it suppresses a little bit on the people buying. It suppresses people using credit. It suppresses people. It makes people want to only spend money on which they have on their own, instead of relying on credit cards and relying on the banks to buy things. And so it makes it a more, I guess you would call it a more liquefied transaction period, right? You're going to have more people that are spending their own money rather than spending the bank's money. And so you can still have a higher interest rate economy and still have a robust economy. And it's the more robust you get, the more the quicker that the economy grows, in which, you know, when Obama was in office, he said, look, you can't get above 2.5% GDP. You can't do it. It's just not possible. It's just not feasible. And there were plenty of Keynesian economists that were saying similar things. And Trump comes in and goes, no. Watch this. Watch this. I'm going to cut regulations. Watch this. I'm going to get out of the people's way. Watch this. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. I'm going to give tax cuts. I'm going to enable corporations to spend more money. I'm going to give people back, or I'm going to stop taking as much of people's money with these tax cuts. I'm going to do this, that, and the other. And as a result, we flew up, and we got over 4% GDP. So we were beating the economists on what they said was going to be the new ceiling of what was achievable. And so when you go above and beyond what is deemed achievable, it gives other people's permission to do what they need to. Now, here's another one of the positive effects about raising the interest rate. Oh, I completely agree with you, 33. So it is actually a private entity. Yes, the Federal Reserve is a private entity, which is so intrinsically important to the value of our currency that they need to be removed, right? Because there's no bureaucracy there. There's no legislation there to ensure that they're working properly, right? This is why we've never had an audit on them. And so yes, they do need to be ended. It needs to be, if we're going to live in a republic, there needs to be representation there. We need to have accountability there. So I absolutely agree with you on that one. But when it comes to the other good thing about this, so if you raise up the interest rates, you start stepping them up the way that they have been. As what some economists have been calling is that we're going to go through a crash here soon, and we're seeing a lot of volatility in the stock market. But when this crash happens, the way that you can stimulate the economy is by reducing the interest rates. So if you never increase the interest rates, you can't reduce them. You could try to do what Japan has done. I think it was either Japan or China. One of them had a negative interest rate where when you would take money, they would give you more money back. So if you just held on to your money indefinitely, you would make money off of taking, really, really twisted, insipid idea. But anyways, nonetheless. So if you raise the interest rates, it becomes kind of a safety net. And it is able to. Oh, I just lost you guys on Periscope. It's fine. It becomes a safety net and is enabling you to reduce that in order to encourage people to get back into the market, right? Because as more people start buying in, as more people start spending more money, then you're able to have the economy grow again. This is kind of what President Trump did with his tax cuts. He said, look, it's going to cost you guys less to spend more. And so by doing that, right, he stimulated the economy in a large way. Raising interest or lowering interest rates would be doing the same thing. The Fed has manipulated us into losing our wealth every decade for a century. Yes, the Feds is just absolutely atrocious. I'm 100% in agreement with that. So there are. I don't want to say this and sound like I'm in favor of them, but there are logical things in which the Federal Reserve does that is in accordance with the purpose of what they were enacted to do, right? And that is to try to stabilize or try to reduce the inflection points, the high notes and the low notes of the economy. Yeah, I'm always down, man. I've always got the call-in line up there. I'm always out here. I stream 3 times a week. If you ever want to call in during the show, you're more than free to do so. It's 3 times a week, so it's Tuesdays, Fridays, and Sundays nights at 7 p.m. Eastern. Feel free to call in. We can have a discussion. Sadly, I'm so involved with so many different things, and with the new year coming up, we're going to be getting involved. 2 new podcasts should be coming out. Hopefully getting on the radio a little more often, and hopefully getting involved with a couple more campaigns and getting the outreach out there. The only reason you're correct is because they control the tempo of our economy. Yes. So they have a large influence in the tempo of the economy. Yes, and that is by the interest rates, right? You raise the interest rates, right? You're trying to bring it back down a little bit. You're trying to create more of a safety net in the future, and it is a form of protectionism, if you will. And if it's slow, right, you just kind of let go, right? You back away, you let the interest rates go, you bring it all away, and you allow more freedom, more liberty, and then things prosper. Oh man, another podcast. I don't know if I have time for 3 of them this year, but I mean, if you're running a podcast, I'd be more than happy to hop on as a guest and come in for a couple shows. I might be able, because I think the 2 podcasts that we're going to be doing once to twice a week on each of those. I've got my 3 shows. I'm looking to expand to maybe hit a 4th night a week if my wife will let me. And then, I also got to start working on my own campaign. So it'll be interesting to see the way that all unfolds. But yeah, so I mean, the Federal Reserve has been so intrinsically involved with our economy, and there's just no accountability there. And so that's something that I think that a lot of Americans are going to start waking up to, thanks to President Trump. And certainly when Trump started tweeting about them. All right, so let me handle this real quick. So the comment was, if you care about your credibility at all, stay away from 33. So my entire platform, and people should understand this about me, I am a free associated person. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your views are. If you have something positive to bring to the table, I'm willing to let you bring that. If you bring atrociousness, atrocities, if you bring immorality, if you are somebody that's not here for the betterment of society or to bring truth, then I disassociate myself. And it is what it is, right? I'm not here to pick battles, to fight other people's battles. I just try to break down groups as much as I can, or break down drama as much as I can. I know I've done this on a couple people's shows where I'm trying to play the mediator for people. It's important that whenever you have drama with people, you try to get down to the core of it, what the problem is, and exactly right. I don't do the gossip. I don't do the drama. I have people that I work with all the time that I have 100% hatred for. I despise them as an individual. I disagree with them on so many different things, but I'm able and capable of working with these people for the betterment of society and for everyone else. I appreciate it. I appreciate the intel. I appreciate your concern. But it is what it is. Yeah, I mean, you don't, yeah. Let's talk issues. Drama is for mentally defective idiots. I mean, it's not even about, like, I'm not even interested in, like, downplaying people, right? So there's plenty of people that I've been on their shows and they've made drama about me, and I'm just like, make the drama about me. What you're doing is you're making me a bigger platform, because I'm not going to sit down and talk ill of others. You're going to make me bigger. I'm not going to make you any bigger. People will come to me and they'll think that I'm some right-wing Nazi authoritarian. I'm like, nah, dude, I want you to be as free as you want to be. I don't want to infringe upon you in any way, shape, or form. Or somebody would be like, oh, he's just a white supremacist. He hates black people. I'm like, oh, yeah, no, I don't care about your race. Your race has no value to me whatsoever. It is what it is. He's so not you, you have couth. And that's fine, right? It's a backhanded compliment there, and that's okay. It wasn't backhanded to me, but people have issues with other people, and that's fine. I have to select the people I do podcasts with very selectively, because it's not on a personality thing. It's a little bit of the chemistry, sure, but it's more on what the principle of what we're doing. Yeah, people get triggered because you can associate with anyone. Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, I even talk. So if for those of you who are big in the libertarian circles, or even have been following me for a little while, you guys know I despise libertarian socialists, right? This is an actual term. This is a real thing. Libertarian socialists. So somebody who believes in removing the state and then trying to invoke socialism without a state. Like, they don't believe in private property rights. So just at the core value, they don't believe in private property rights. I have three, count them, three libertarian socialists that I talk with frequently. And so it is what it is. So it's all about, it's less about the people and it's more about the ideas that people have, right? I am 100% fan of diversity when it comes to diversity of ideas. If you have different ideas than me, I want you to challenge mine. I'll challenge yours, and if yours is the betterment, then you'll change me. If mine's are the betterment, I'll change you. If I don't do anything else and we just change other people's minds, then we've been successful in our own way. So it is what it is. So I feel like if I keep talking about politics, though, I'm gonna waste all of my talking points from tonight. Or not tonight, from tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hope you guys will tune in for that one. But there's a small thing. Getting blown up. I'm getting blown up by the mother-in-law. I will have to contact her later. When it comes to Ruth Bader Ginsburg, now we've been talking about the Supreme Court, right? Because I'm a huge advocate for the Supreme Court, especially when we have more textualists coming in, when we have more people that actually care about the founding documents, the intents of the documents, and what the purpose of Article 3 is. when you have more textualists, and that is somebody like Neil Gorsuch, somebody who's there to fight for the Constitution, not to fight for the individuals, not to fight for the corporations, not to fight for the government, but to fight for the Constitution itself, right? We're in a much better way. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, she just got out from, I believe this was on New Year's Eve. She just got out from the, either that or the day before that. She got out of her surgery, so she had lung surgery to get rid of some cancer nodes. Everything's coming out positive. She's not going to be missing out on any of the verbal or the vocal arguments. So Supreme Court will be coming back in session on the 7th. It's going to be fantastic. I'm excited. Libertarians are weird, but you're right. They're weirder. I agree. Libertarians are not weird. Libertarians just care about you more than you care about yourself. That's okay. So despite like not agreeing with Ginsburg in any way, despite the fact that she doesn't agree with the Constitution and even told South Africans that when they want to impart a new Constitution over their government to not look at the American Constitution as a reference, I wish the best for her. I don't think that she is of mind to sit on the bench. I believe that she should be impeached. I believe that she should have been impeached when she's been so egregiously advocated against the Constitution. We've seen this from many discussions in the past. She holds the value of femininity or feminism to a higher standard than what the Constitution is, and she's advocated for quote unquote women's rights, despite the fact that I still, despite talking to first wave feminists, second wave feminists, third wave feminists, and even the new trend of fourth wave feminists, have not been able to find a single right in America in 2018 that is afforded to a man that is not afforded to a woman. It is amazing. 33 has known me for a while. 33 has, I was associated with 33 last year, I believe it was. So I've been around 33. I've been around Izzy 420. I've been around Geo. I've been around Vicious for a while. I think actually Vicious, you might have been the newest person that I've really interacted with. But those were my young Periscoping days. What it is. You know some turfs? I do know some turfs. And I think I actually here's the bad thing, right? Because what feminism, especially in the third and the fourth wave, have become is they've been more of a misandrist movement. It's been a way of building up women at the cost of men. What a TERF is, and for those of you who don't know what the acronym TERF is a trans exclusionary. I forgot what the R stands for. Female or feminist. And so, how can a justice not uphold and disagree with the Constitution? Because if you disagree with the Constitution and you disagree with some of the values of it, you might be able to wiggle out other justifications in order to advocate against the Constitution. So I've spoken with TERFs. Do I have any TERFs on my friends list? I do not. But I would much rather agree with a feminist or with a TERF than I would a third or fourth wave feminist. Because a TERF is just saying that trans women, right? So biological men that decide to transition to females because of gender dysphoria are not somebody that can advocate for feminism, right? And so I'm much more of a scientific person. I believe in biology more than I believe in ideology. And so on those grounds, I would agree with the premise of removing trans females from the feminist movement. Just like I would agree with the idea of removing trans from the LGBT community. Because if we look at the LGBT community, if we look at the LGBTQIAA community as a whole, all of those, with the exception of intersex trans, are sexualities, right? Lesbian, gay, bisexual, asexual, right? Those are all how one person interacts with another person in a sexual connotation,
right, in a sexual way. So if you're a man and you're attracted to a man, you'd be considered gay. If you're a man and you're attracted to both a man and a woman, then you'd be bi. If you're a woman that's attracted to a woman, you'd be a lesbian, right? So it's very simple, right? That's the structure plan of a majority of the LGBT community. Intersex is somebody that is born with conflicting chromosomes, if you will, right? So, oh no, I'm forgetting what it was called. So there's one form of intersex, and I actually have a friend that was in the Navy, a fellow Navy veteran, fellow shipmate. She's an intersex, so she actually has male chromosomes. She looks like a female, so she had underdeveloped gonads. She's incapable of having children, so her body wanted to be a man, but her body also rejected androgen, I believe it was. It was one of the forms of testosterone during the gestational period, and so she couldn't become a full developed man. So she became what looked like a woman, and didn't find out until she went through puberty. So intersex is about a biological malfunction during the gestational period. And then when it comes to transgenderism, right? Transgenderism is having a mental disorder, it was a mental disorder prior to 2 years ago, but now in accordance with the DSM-5 is now considered a mental condition. And so that mental condition just basically says you were born a man and you believe that you should be a woman, or you were born a woman and you believe you should. That is what gender dysphoria is. So you have sexual preferences, and then you have the intersex in the same community that's a birth defect, and then you have transgenderism, which is a mental condition in accordance with the DSM-5. Like, I don't understand how all of these things are going to be grouped up together unless you go to the core principle of what. So Mike Blackbot, if you want to call in, you want to elaborate on that, you're more than welcome to. The number is 802-671-5328, because I don't really understand how it would not be applicable to all trans. I don't understand how trans would not be involved with gender dysphoria in itself. So you might be able to have that. But so the only way that you can really group all of these people together, and something that the LGBT community has been trying to do, is to latch onto other groups and to join forces, to join ranks, to bolster their numbers and to make a bigger impact, is to join up with quote unquote other victim groups. That is the only way that you'll be able to take all of these groups and assimilate them into each other to have a cohesive unit. And so it is that ideology that moves people towards the victimhood mentality, and it advocates for it. And so I'm really genuinely interested. Like, I love the topic of transgenderism, of gender dysphoria, right? We've talked about gender dysphoria being on the 4 alpha list for the military service and everything else. Jason, when I make pizza, I think of Vicious. That's why my pizza looks so. I don't even know what that means, but I don't know. But I really do enjoy these topics, and when President Trump came out and said that people with gender dysphoria, he said trans. All right, we got a phone call. Hello and Merry Christmas, and who is this?
Hi, it's Vicious.
Hi, Vicious. How's it going?
Going pretty good. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. So, disclaimer, just because I know the comment section has been going wild, let's keep it on topic and not in the drama topic.
I just have a question.
Okay, go ahead.
So, being so close to the community, I just wondered what your thoughts are on a cis male going on a public platform and accusing a female of being a trans.
So
I'm just wondering what your thoughts are of somebody that goes and does that.
So I don't think that is necessary.
Whenever there are real trans people out there with problems. I'm just wondering what your thoughts are.
Okay, so my thought is that I don't think that I think that if somebody's advocating for drama in that way and just trying to, whether it's true or false, it really doesn't matter because it's not really their laundry to air. And if it is patently false, right, that shows more about their character. If it is true, then it still shows about their character. I think that certainly if you're going after somebody for their physical characteristics, right, you should be able to go after them for their arguments. And so certainly it speaks about the degradation of, if you will.
Right. So the person that's saying this person is a trans when they're not trans, when they know they're not, when they've said before that they're not, what would you call that kind of person?
I would call them the same as anybody else. I would say that that's somebody that is too involved with nonsensical bullshit, and certainly is. They certainly have whatever their agenda, whatever their narrative is not only impure, but it's also just worthless, right? Because you can omit that from your entire life, and you can have a much better life being able to focus on bigger and better things.
That's all I have.
Okay. Yep.
Appreciate your time.
Yep.
I really like your everything.
All right.
Definitely want to let you know that whenever you meet somebody like a year ago, they may be completely opposite of what they were.
See, I completely agree with that, right? Because people who knew me a year ago would not recognize me to this day, and so I understand. Like, people adapt and people change for the betterment. People change for the worse, and that's it's a choice on yourself to be a better person or to be a worse. Allow bad things to mold you in a better way or in a worse way. We should all be working towards being better people.
Yes, and it really is upon us in the community to let people know whenever they have changed.
Yep.
You're right. And I feel that it's really great that you're here on this platform and being the mediator.
Yep.
And being of sound mind. I really appreciate your time today.
I appreciate it, Vicious. All right.
All right. Bye, Jason.
All right, bye. Thank you, Vicious, for calling in. But yeah, so I mean, yes, if that's your entire premise is to come after people, whether it's for their sexuality, their if they're gender dysphoric, if they've transitioned, or whatever it is, right? Are you making society better, or are you making society worse? Right? We can obviously you can have better arguments against people, and I'm not going to sit here and attack people by name, but I know there's plenty of people in the scope right now that have had some pretty egregious views in the past, if not now, and certainly if they were to air those views, right, we can obviously demolish them and diminish them, but it is what it is. And so, yeah, I'm called a Nazi all the time. Who cares? Yeah, exactly, right? If you guys saw like the hatred that I receive pretty frequently, I'm called a Nazi. I've been called a socialist. I've been called a communist. I've been called a libtard and a cuckservative in the same conversation, right? When people resort to just attacking you as a person, it speaks more about them than it speaks about you. So if you're just able to hold your head high and move on and keep on going, keep on trucking, first off, they're going to get bored of trying, and second off is people are going to see that and they're going to make it better. All right, so the phone line is open. Feel free to call in. We still hear calling her a Nazi. That's fine. Very happy to discuss real issues, not personal garbage to distract from our information. That's the premise of what I've always worked on, right? That's why I made the disclaimer. I knew that there was some controversies going on, and I don't get involved with that, right? If I'm thrown into a conversation, if I'm thrown into a situation, I'll speak my mind on it, certainly. But I'm not here to be a mediator for people for their issues. So it is what it is. So feel free, guys. You guys can call in. We still here, and 33 Ruble said that they're going to call in. So we'll see who gets in here. Interesting topic, right? Nonchalant topic. I mean, I was spot on with it, right? We'll go anywhere and everywhere with these. Blackbot, I'm still waiting on you, bro. I'm still waiting on you to explain that little comment. CDO for Jesus, what up? How's it going, Missy? Hope you're doing well. Hope you had a Merry Christmas. I know we haven't talked in the TAV chat room. If you guys don't know about the TAV chat room, you don't know about the best room that there is, right? We go in there, we bullshit, we have a good time. We all dissent, right? I dissent with everybody at least. But we have a great time in there. If you guys are interested in that, if you guys are willing to be challenged on your views, on your narratives, and come into a room and just hang out with a bunch of great people, let me know, and I'll see about getting you guys an invite. I'm not an admin. I'm just there, just an advocate. So we got great people in there, like Boogie Bumper himself. So good people in there, good time. If you guys are still trying to call in, 802-671-5328. That's right. I'm double fisting right now. I got the Jack of the Box shake, and I got the, oh, come on. You guys can't be calling in on private numbers. I have to save numbers. Hello, Merry Christmas, and how are you?
I wasn't going to really do that, and I wanted to kind of just hook up with you and talk to you privately, so maybe we could put some real subject matter together, because I really well informed, and I really enjoy the stuff that it's okay, you bring out, and it's really unfortunate that, in the middle of what you're doing, talking about the Federal Reserve, you would actually get hijacked by BNN because you have a personal issue with me and can't stop obsessing. And Jason, maybe you could talk to her privately, because she rescopes me every time I turn my live camera on, and I think that's a form of harassment. Okay, maybe people take it as flattery, but I take it as, listen, you want to try to clown me. Why don't you just come on and discuss your issues with me? Let's talk about what it is that you have a problem with. She rescopes Izzy because it's a protest. Why does she rescope me? Why does she rescope others? Can't be protesting me, because a lot of the views that I have are very straightforward. So I don't understand this, Jason. Maybe you could help me out with this.
I think that a lot of people just get involved with this little tit for tats, and people never got out of high school, right? And that happens for a lot of people, and that's the way that they go. And I think that certainly we can, if you view it as harassment, right, you should certainly be trying to reach out and trying to get her to stop. I know I've been in many discussions with people that have restreamed others, and I've gotten them into rooms together, and I said, hey, look, here's the issue. You guys are obviously just going at each other. How do you guys, what can you guys do to just act as if the other one is dead? That's all you have to do. If you act as if the other one's dead and you move on, the other person can keep trying to slander you, keep trying to attack you, and that's going to be the end of it. And it doesn't. So looking at people at the next level, right? So I'm always looking for the best marketing plan. Whatever you're trying to achieve, if you're at the next level, do you think you're going to have more haters or less haters? And of course, you're going to have more haters. You're going to have more people that want to talk about you, that want to nitpick everything that you say. And so they're going to be trying to restream you. They're going to be trying to grab your stuff and project it out and make you look bad. If you just take it with
You're right. Yeah, I don't mean to interrupt you. You're 100% right. And this is where I have a problem. Okay, because you see how we were just talking, I came in your stream, and we were talking about the Fed Reserve, and then all of a sudden, Bitches and Lynn pop in, and I can actually send you a lot of the stuff that these people are saying, which are totally not true.
I'm generally not interested.
Let me just say this. The fact of the matter is, we were having discussion, the same thing they just did to you, they have done to me and my cast for many months, is send people in to totally be a distraction, a disruption of the message that I want to put out and the information I want to share, like I want to share with you, and go out and put it out publicly, because I don't really care whose feelings get hurt. And it just seems that they make this personal. And I'm just questioning the motives behind this, because it's like, okay, you don't like me. How long do you want to not like me and try to disrupt me for? 8 months a year because I called her a tranny? Listen, the internet say don't believe anything unless you can see it. And all I'm saying to her is the way you behave, you're a lunatic. Want to say the stuff you're saying about me? Then you know what? You should be able to take it. Everybody else is running with it, Jason. and calling her a tranny, that's not my fault. Okay?
Yeah, so
and she keeps perpetuating. Let me just say this, and I'll say what. If she keeps perpetuating this nonsense and bringing it up, if maybe she kept her mouth shut and ignored it like an adult, it would go away. That's all I'm saying. I would like it to end.
Okay.
Go ahead, Jason, I'm sorry.
All right, so a couple things real quick. So first off, I think that, you know, not dropping names is certainly much better, especially when you're trying to devolve to diminish the drama that's been going on. So I think dropping names certainly isn't even adding, even though everyone in the room, everyone that's here understands exactly who the conversation could be about. I think it would be better in the future to not name names, but there's always this level of ownership that we want to place on the other people. And I just saw that with your last point, that, you know, that she needs to be the adult and she needs to move on. And I think that if you were to, you don't have to mute her, you don't have to block her, but if you just sit there and you act as if she isn't there, right? Whatever she says, she says. You can't control that, but what you can control is your reactions.
Wait, but Jason, there's a bigger problem here that you're not aware of, okay? And we could discuss this privately, or we could do it right here. I just want you to know that Vicious is not alone. Vicious is part of a whole troll network where she just sends people, and I've watched her do this. She sits on a program, she has people come in, she says, go into this program and disrupt it so we can all go away. She actually has many people contacting other people, involved with them personally, disruptive nonsense. She's a total real distraction, and you know what, if it was just one person, it would be easy. She has a whole network, and if you've been around Jason, I think you probably heard some of this. And I've tried to make peace with this.
Yep.
But
So
she's been attacking me in many different ways, and so I'm retaliating, and I'm tired of it. I want to talk about the stuff like we were just discussing before, instead of this garbage that she has a conversation about.
I got you. So here I'll give you a personal example. So when I first started on, and before anyone really knew me on Periscope, before I even knew there was cliques and circles and groups and everything else on Periscope, I got actually into a couple conversations with some actual card-carrying violent communists, like actual legit communists, and they had sent their people in to discuss things with me. And so what I would do is I learned how to omit parts of their statements. And so even when they sent in groups of people to stampede over my discussions and just try to manipulate the root of the discussion, if it wasn't pertinent to the topic, if it wasn't on the path that I wanted to take, I omitted it entirely. If you could take segments of what they're saying and you can use that and then expand off of it, what you're doing is you're taking their negative energy and you're able to use that as a stepping stone. You look like a better person. You're growing, and then they now are learning. They learn very quickly. They will learn this very quickly, that if they throw out garbage to you and you step on said garbage and you are now projected up to a higher level, they learn that they're actually helping you. And instead of wanting to help you, they're just going to become hysterical lunatics. They'll just do nothing but throw ad hominems at you. And then you can say, look, these people are just nonsensical lunatics. And you get to be able to dismiss them easily.
Jason, you're cracking me up. We're here now. You dealt with the communists. Well, you got one. This is a communist.
She used to...
Actually, you want to laugh? You want to laugh? You know, I've been here, just so you know, okay, I'm 54. I've been on social media only 1 year, so all this stuff, this craziness that you're talking about, I had no clue on. I turned my go live on, Jason. I started talking. Okay, I had no intentions of making a platform or anything at all. Just turned it on to meet, you know, people like you, you know, crowdsource information, and you know, and I okay, because I did kind of a really good sense of humor. And I ran into a Nazi group that actually brought me into a Nazi Discord. Okay, and Vicious is part of this stuff, and whether she wants to acknowledge it or not, I can prove it. Okay, and I don't care what you believe, but these people became obsessed with me. Okay, and I tried to tell them the truth of their ideology, the exact same way you're talking about the communists. And these people are obsessed, and they're behaving in exactly the manner that you just discussed, and that's exactly what I'm going through. And they're trying to discredit me, and because they would think that I should be talking about Jewish crimes. They're obsessed with this Jewish conspiracy, and I told them that the things that are going on are far beyond their total comprehension, And I could teach them and show them the information, but they're not interested because they're stuck. So the same.
So if they're stuck, you just move on. That's all you got to do,
That's
right?
They're stuck on me though. They won't leave me alone.
That's
what
fine.
I'm telling you.
You just take them as a one more viewer in your column. You just say, "Look, I just gained another viewer." They come in, they hate on me, whatever, and you just move on. That's all you got to do, man.
Right. The only thing I don't care about that. I just want Vicious to stop harassing me with the rescope. And if she wants to tell you that, you know, your association or even having a conversation with me would be bad for your reputation, just shows the tactics that she's trying to use. I would never come to you and tell you, don't have Vicious. I think she should have actually spoke even further on your show. But she just came on to call up. And the only reason I called up now was because I'm like, wow, man, she just totally disrupted your show. This is the techniques that they use. We were talking about the Federal Reserve having a real fucking serious conversation, and Colleen was in here, and she actually just sent me a text, and she said, please ignore Vicious. She's disrupting the program. And Vicious, I'm sure Colleen's in the chat, she'll probably tell you. You have great information, and it's people like this
I appreciate that.
They redirect the topic into what they want it to be for their own entertainment. And whether she has Nazi ideology or communist, I don't care. What she has is a disruptive, revolutionary spirit. You know what I mean? Where they just want to just disrupt everything like anarchy. And it's like, why do you want to do that to nice people? Because me and you could sit here for hours and talk about many things because I listen to you, man. And I would love to do that. And not deal with this. This is childish garbage. I agree with you.
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, regardless if it's one person, a million people, like just take it for what it is. People are going to hate on you. People are going to continue doing it. But when you respond, that gives them the fuel to keep going. And so, take it as a personal check. And I think that I think Vicious is still in here. I think. And anyone else that was been named, if you guys take this, hold on. If everyone just takes this as a personal check, look at yourself and say, what can I do better? Don't worry about the other people. What can you do better? And if you strive to every day be better, then the situation goes away on its own.
I would like to do two things, Jake. I'm going to send you a DM, and we could maybe, you know, pick a few topics and actually do a show together. It would be awesome if you'd like. You know, or, if not, that's okay. But I just want to say,
I'm down. I'm always down. I'm down to go on any platform. I've been on I've been on white supremacist. I've been on a Nazi platform. I've been on a black supremacist platform. I've been on a a socialist platform, and I've been on a classic liberal. I've been on an anarchist, and I've been on a couple conservative.
Jason, you and I are very similar, my man. Okay, I don't label myself as anything. I'm not left, right. Okay, it's only up or down for me. Okay, listen, you understand, I talk about the issues that are really going on, and I'll talk to anybody, and I don't really care what people think, but let's talk about the issues. And the last thing I want to just say is this, I think we should get back to talking about the Federal Reserve, Jekyll Island, 1913, the 16th Amendment not getting ratified, and if you could get into some of that stuff, I'm going to pull off the phone, and maybe we could get back to that whole conversation, and, bring it full circle, and let's talk about real stuff. This is all nonsense.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm going to have a much more. I'm going to have much more of the thought train tomorrow night. Certainly, tonight, just like the title goes, it's just the nonchalant. If we go back to the Federal Reserve, we go on there. We can certainly go there, but wherever it goes, it goes. I'm not here to steer the train.
I was just saying for right now. I just wanted to kind of shift off of this because you were doing really well and. You know what? I was enjoying it until this whole disruption, and that was the reason for my call. Not
I appreciate
to continue it, but to redirect it so we could go back to that conversation. It was epic. I'm going to send you a DM. Thanks so much for taking my call.
I appreciate it.
All right. You have a beautiful day. God bless.
You as well. Happy New Year. All right. So now that we've gotten, hopefully everyone that's in here understands the drama on the scope. The drama in this very scope right here can be settled, can be put away, and handled at another time. It is what it is. Ben K, man, welcome in, sir. I didn't see you come in. I've been slacking, been missing. But yeah, so what have we talked about so far today? We talked a little bit about the Trump shutdown, the governmental shutdown, and the way that that's a good thing. Talked a little bit about the Federal Reserve and Trump coming out and talking about actually like criticizing the Federal Reserve. I thought it was funny that one of the Rothschilds' children was like, "No, you need to fuck off. You need to shut the fuck up. Stop talking about me. Stop talking about my precious." And it's just like, yeah, that's just another big sign that, yeah, you guys are corrupt. You guys are bad, okay? Like, I would say a better defense, if they really wanted to keep them under the radar, keep them away from this, would say, audit us. Go ahead, audit us. We feel as if everything that us at the Federal Reserve is doing is not only just moral and just and good and good-hearted, but that if you were to audit us, you would see that we are a caring, compassionate group that is here just to ensure that the American people have a strong, robust dollar at the end of the day, to ensure that we can trade with other countries, and that we have not artificially inflated the dollar's value, that we have not diminished the dollar's value, that we have not been acting in political bias or anything else. And if they could do that, if they were to say that and open it up for an audit and to invite the audit, then I wouldn't look at it as such a disgusting way. But of course, if you're just going to come out and say, fuck off, shut the fuck up, leave us the fuck alone, you don't touch us, don't talk about us, we don't exist to you, President Trump, then let's go in there. Let's break down the door. Somebody get a search warrant. Somebody get a judge to say, yeah, get in that. Go in as deep as you want. And, I implore it. Audit the Fed and then end the Fed. All right, we got another call. Let's see what's going on. Over in. Hello, welcome in. Merry Christmas. And who is this?
My name is Jeffrey. Mary Chrysler.
Merry Chrysler to you as well.
What's today's topic?
It's been a nonchalant topic. We were just talking a little bit about the Federal Reserve. We've talked about the Trump government shutdown. We talked a little bit about Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and we're just jumping around, hopping around, having a good time, wasting a little bit of time today.
Okay. Deport Mexicans.
Deport Mexicans. Why? Because they make America look trashy. Should we deport white trash? Why not?
Wait, you sound white. You deport yourself?
Oh, I'm not white trash though. So by my statement, like, if I'm saying we should deport white trash, and you're saying because we should deport Mexicans for making the country look trashy, then wouldn't that be the same standard?
We should everyone in America.
If we deport everyone in America? So who's going to deport the last person? So the population of one. So is it like once we get down to 2 people left in the country, it's just like whoever deports the other one is now the all of America?
Yeah, well, we should have a purge.
A purge. Can I? This is gonna get interesting. This is gonna be fun. All right. So how would this purge go?
God bless America.
Oh, I can't. Sorry. So the horn goes, then everyone goes on a killing spree, and then once the horn goes again, it's all done. That's the plan.
Say that again?
So you're saying that for this purge, all that would happen is you would open up, you would have the horn go off, and then now everyone gets to go around and kill each other, and then basically the last man standing is the victor.
Yes. Basically like Fortnite.
So what do you want from this purge? What do you want to accomplish from this purge?
Well, I just want overpopulation is a big deal.
Why is overpopulation a big deal?
Because it's causing global warming. Because all the pollution is getting put into all these people that live all that.
So we just went from being from American politics to being like a global politics, and you're now conflating the two. So when it comes to the global warming, can you elaborate as to like the percentage of the climate change that is directly affected by the man, and how much of it is natural?
It's kind of called the greenhouse effect because like all the smokestacks that generate electricity.
So I thought the greenhouse effect was having to do with carbon-11 being emitted, and the carbon-11 having its effect within the ozone layer as well as within the water, and then having the effects of raising the temperature. I didn't know that was inherently affected by the smokestacks.
Although that is true, yes, it did. Well, if we came out with all electric cars, I bet global warming would slow down.
So when it comes to electric cars, how are we building the batteries for these electric cars? So I know that for example, the Toyota Prius, building the battery for a Toyota Prius actually emits more carbon emissions than even a Dodge Ram 2500 diesel Cummins that runs for its entire lifetime. So I don't think that necessarily you're saving the emissions on that just by going to an electric car. I think that certainly we can move to other effects.
But it doesn't pollute into the air, though. It doesn't put gas into the air.
No, it does. That's when you produce the battery, when you're using all of those emissions, or whenever you're using all of the processes in order to create the battery, you're actually, instead of having a long emission for these. For the carbon emissions through the Dodge truck as the example, you're doing it all at the front. So if you have a Prius and you drive it off the lot and it becomes totaled right away, and you go and you buy a second Prius in order to replace the first one, you've actually done more damage with two of those Priuses than you would from multiple Dodge Ram trucks.
Dang, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it's you can't expect that it's so it's all being front loaded. So sure, if you look at a Prius and you say from mile 10, so once it's already been created throughout its lifetime, and you have you could stack up multiple Priuses and it won't equate to the same as the Dodge Ram, but because it's all front loaded, if the Prius doesn't last as long, you're actually having a more negative effect on the environment and by carbon.
Okay. What do you think of what kind of cars do you think that like water fueled cars?
Yeah.
What about that?
So the water fueled car. So you're talking about like an actual hydrogen car or hydrogen oxide car that's actually running off of water. So those are not efficient enough, not effective enough. They aren't able to actually produce enough power in order to be a feasible operator. As well as they wouldn't, to be able to get enough water.
Shots fired.
All right. So, see, here's a good note for you guys, right? If you guys are going to call in, you guys are going to troll, I'm just going to beat you guys over the head with some logic, and then you guys are going to go ahead and leave. And that's fine. Children don't have learned facts anymore. Education isn't even elective at this point. So it's always interesting, right? If you guys want to call in, I will have fun with you, especially if it's during like a nonchalant conversation like today. He's going to tell a teacher on you for microaggression. But so if you guys want to troll, feel free to call in and try and troll. If you want to come in and actually have a good, robust conversation, and if you guys look at our last video from last Tuesday, we actually ran a 2.5 hour show because I had an hour-long discussion. If you guys know who Heisenberg is somebody that is on the left. And we had a nice, long conversation. We talked about many different things. And we had honesty, we had integrity within this conversation. We may have disagreed on here and there, but as a whole, it was a great conversation. So if you guys want to have good conversations, feel free in. If you guys want to be a troll and you guys want to get beat over the head with some logic, some theory, then feel free to call in that way too. Like I'm going to enjoy it either way. yes, if you guys are going to call in, do not use private numbers. That number, I can actually save it so we can call them back later. I'll order some pizza for them. I will order things to their phone. It might go on Craigslist later. Who knows? But probably not. I'm not actually going to do anything. So it is what it is. I think that the public disgracing of those ideologies was enough. Integrity on scope. Okay. I like it, Madeir. Heisenberg has called into mine too. It was fun. Yeah, Heisenberg's actually is a really good guy. Like, if you look at his comments, you'd see him as like a troll because he is of the left. But he is actually a pretty well-informed guy. He's pretty cultured. He's a pretty good dude. And Germans created wood gas cars back in World War II. They did, and they were somewhat effective, but they were also not effective enough because of how much wood you would actually have to carry in order to make them really feasible, right? And so it's the basis behind like a wood stove or a wood churning vehicle. It is quite difficult, right? And that's why you'd move from the wood and you'd move that up to something like charcoal, where it's going to emit more heat for longer periods of time, and then you can grow up and then you can see, hey, this is how a locomotive train works. He went from right to left. Who? Heisenberg went from right to left? Oh, okay. He was on the right? That's kind of crazy. It is what it is. But, I was a nuclear... I worked on a nuclear reactor on submarines, so I know a little bit. I know a little bit about power and how it's generated and how it works and how it functions and all that. So, it's always a good time. I hope you guys enjoyed the troll talk. It was good. I had a couple notes. Let me... Oh, so... Here's a good story. It's kind of one of the off the wall topics I wanted to bring up just to do. In Kansas Supreme Court says that cops can search your home without a warrant if they claim it smells like pot. So the cops come up to your house, they knock on your door, and they say, "Smells like pot in here. Oh, I'm gonna come into your house and I'm gonna check it out." And you say, "Not without a warrant, sir." Kansas Supreme Court says, nay, nay, mother trucker. Nay, nay. They are free to come into your house, check out whatever it is that they want to do. Well, with this specific case, the cops smelled 25 grams of pot inside of a plastic container, inside of a safe, inside of a closet. So inside of a plastic container, which was inside of a safe, which was inside of a closet, 30 feet from the guy's doorsteps. These cops, they don't need dogs anymore. They're smelling it out anywhere and everywhere that they want to. So they can go all up in your hizzle for shizzle. Like no oath or affirmation needed. Fourth Amendment, just not that important anymore. And it's this idea, right? Because there's no clear objective way of doing this, right? So whenever you have something that's like that, right? If you have something that is subjective as a piece of evidence, it's not necessarily enough to make to strip somebody of their rights, their liberties, and their freedom. And this article is coming from none other than Reason, of course, because Reason is the only one that cares about your rights, your freedoms, and your ability to live free and to prosper. Let me pull up the realsies this time. But looking at that, you just go, ugh. Like, cops just walk up to your house and they say, "We smelled pot." Yeah, that was the neighbor next door. I'm checking your house, bro. Like, how are you gonna recreate that and to be able to say in a court of law how this works? It's just, ugh. So what if a cop without a dog claims his own nose detects marijuana inside of a home? In that case, the Kansas Supreme Court ruled that the alleged odor provides probable cause for a search, which the cop can execute without waiting for a warrant if he says he's afraid the contraband he thought he smelled may be hidden or destroyed in the interim. So if you walk up to somebody's house, you walk up to somebody's car and you're like, in here, you don't have to wait. Don't have to ask for permission. You can go ahead and search. And 4-3 decision issued on December 7th give police carte blanche to search any home at will. So without the necessity without the necessity of being able to verify anything, without the necessity of asking for an oath or affirmation. Oh, this was their Supreme Court. This was their state Supreme Court. They would have to find a reason, a justification in order to bring it up to the federal court. So it's a done deal. So what if they don't find Papa? They find the neighbor chained in the basement. So that gets into that gets into another legal argument, which is called fruit of the poisonous tree. So if you can say without a doubt that you did not have any pot, you did not have any marijuana, and that they were performing an illegal search, and they found other crimes, right? They would have to do diligence in order to free that person, of course, but they could not prosecute you for it. Interesting. What about the Fourth Amendment? Yeah, and so that's what they're saying. They were saying because the Fourth Amendment, you can't have searches without oath or affirmation unless there's what was the term? I want to make sure I use the proper term. Probable cause, right? So let me pull up the Fourth Amendment for you fine folks, because I'm all about making sure that we use the proper terms at all times. Fourth Amendment, United States Constitution. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches or seizures. Hold on. Loading again. Of property by the... Get out of here. I don't want to donate to you. By the property of the government. It protects against arbitrary arrest and is the basis of law regarding search warrants, stop and frisk, safety... Oh, no. That's... Oh, I hate it whenever they give you the purpose instead of the actual definition on top. The right of the people to be secure in their persons, houses, papers, and effects against unreasonable searches and seizures shall not be violated, and no warrant shall issue, but upon probable cause. That's where they get it. But upon probable cause. He may have smelled it. Maybe good enough. Good enough. Supported by oath or affirmation, and particularly describing the place to be searched and the persons or things to be seized. So even if they were to give a search warrant and say, hey, we're going to come in there and we're going to look in this area. We're going to look in this safe. We're going to look in this plastic bin inside this safe, inside this closet, 30 feet away from the front door, because that's where we think that you have this marijuana. So they give you a warrant for that. If they find out that it's in the plastic container inside this safe, inside this other closet, they couldn't actually get it. And the scope of the search of the warrant is important because it is the only way that it can be constitutional. I.e., look at the Grand Mueller case. Second portion of the investigation is, of course, unconstitutional and unjust. Whatever you find, bro. Whatever you find. No scope. Unconstitutional. But remember when Grateful Dead stickers on your car redeem probable cause? I don't see how a sticker, a First Amendment right, a right that's protected by the First Amendment, there we go, a right that is protected by the First Amendment means that you are now, you now have to give up your Fourth Amendment. I love it whenever, the state says that your rights are on a scale with another right. You can only have this right, or you can only have that right. You can't have both. No. You don't know how life works. You don't know how liberties works. You don't know how all of this works. And the way that this works is I have all of my rights, and when you infringe upon any of these rights, I'm coming after you. If you want to threaten my life, which is my right, then I'm going to defend my life. If you want to go after my privacy, I'm going after you in the court of law. And, I don't have to weigh out and figure out which rights I like, which rights I want. I have all of my rights by being born. They are inalienable rights bestowed upon us by our Creator. That means that if you're a secular, your Creator or your parents, you have your rights because of your parents. If you're a Christian, if you're religious, you have a Creator. You have a supernatural being, a deity, whatever you want to call them. They gave you your rights. It's not a bargaining chip. It's not something for you to say, I guess I don't want this one, so I'm going to take this one over it. You have these 100% of the time. societies decide that they want to infringe upon it or take these away from you. And if you want to bow to them and you accept those, then you go ahead. I don't bow. I don't bow to any man. I am a free man, and I fight for the freedoms of myself and for others. When I run for Congress, when I make it into the United States Supreme Court, you best believe that every day I stand up and I will proudly tell each and every American that I speak to, I'm fighting for your right to be free. I am fighting against the notion of what we fought for our sovereignty for our freedoms. Our country is the only country that was founded upon individual liberty. And yet we have moved on to becoming the very nation that our founding fathers fought against. We fought against a nation that fought for the collectiveness, that they fought to fund the monarchy, the hierarchy, and saying that these people are more equal than these people. And that was the very notion that we fought against. That was the very notion that we fought our Revolutionary War for. So I am fighting to reestablish the individual liberties of this country. You don't have to bargain to see which rights you're allowed to have. You have the right to protect yourself. You have the right to speak. You have the right to remain silent. You have the right to be who you want to be. And that's why it's so disgusting when I see people that want to trash on either libertarians, libertarian ideology, liberty, or freedoms, and they say, look, you just don't care about people. I care more about people than you care about people. Let's be honest. I care about gun crimes. Right? I care about people being hurt. That's why I want them to be able to defend themselves, because I know the state sucks at defending anyone. Right? When the Supreme Court says that officers are not required to step in during a killing, they are not required to step in and try to protect you. The state is saying that they don't have to protect you. Who is going to protect you? I want you to protect you. I want to protect myself, and that means I have to let you protect yourself. So I care more about gun violence than you do. You want to make more people disarmed when you advocate for any kind of gun control. Because I advocate for no gun control. Any gun law is unconstitutional on the basis of shall not be infringed. Okay? So I care more about the rights of the people. I care more about the people themselves. I care about the freedoms, and I care about the liberties. And when people want to trash that, you can feel free to trash it, but it speaks more about you than it speaks about me. Right? Word up. Word up. All right. So it's disgusting to see the way that the state is just continually just taking away at people, right? And we're watching this Constitution over the last 2 centuries really just be diminished, just be devalued, and be we're watching this go away from us, and people are like, oh, well, I only care about this part of the Constitution, or I only care about this part of the Constitution. I care about it all, right? So I care when the Democrats want to violate the Constitution. I care when the President Trump wants to violate the Constitution. I care when the Republicans want to violate the Constitution. I am so ready for this all to be over with. Hold on, we got a wonderful call in coming in. It's a callback. Hello, you're on the air. Merry Christmas and welcome back.
Oh, hi.
Oh, you're coming back again, eh?
Yeah, sorry. The purge is happening right now.
Oh no, the purge is happening right now. The purge just happened, guys. All right, so yeah, purge just happened. So if you're just gonna call back and be the same troll again, you're not gonna get the same time. You're not gonna get the same time, right? So we're watching it, right? And oftentimes I've had discussions recently and don't like it. People don't like it. So if you tell me your party, you tell me your side, and you say my side has been clean, I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're a Republican, Democrat, or even a Libertarian, or whatever it is. I can 100% show you where they have advocated against the Constitution. I'm not that guy. I am going to work within the confinements of the Constitution, and her brain has been purged. I don't know if it was yeah. But I gotta hurry up and go in there and X-nay on that. See, this is why I need you guys to always call in and never Never call in on a private number. All right. I can censor, right? Because I don't have a screener, right? It's just me. It's just me. So I don't have a screener, so I got to screen it myself. So you guys calling on a private number, you guys aren't getting through. What's she been saying? So she was the one that was calling in that was like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then she was like, well, climate change. And then I was like, all right, let's go with climate change. So we started talking about that. She went on to China and America, and I was like, all right, so now you're going to global climate change. And we moved on to cars itself. I taught her a little bit about Toyota Priuses, and then shots fired, and then hung up. So it is what it is. But yeah, so I'm watching this, right? And probably the biggest one that I've seen. So first off, bump stocks, right? That was the most recent from the Republican Party, from the President Trump himself, right? Egregiously against the Second Amendment, egregiously against the Fifth Amendment, against the Fourth Amendment, because you're taking things away from people without due process. You're taking away the ability for them to defend themselves, even though it's just an accessory, absolutely. But you're enabling and enacting a piece of legislation from the executive branch, which is against the intent or the tenor of the Second Amendment. But you're advocating against all of this in order to make people feel good. And when people say, yeah, you know what, I don't like bump stocks, you don't have to like bump stocks to say that I'm going to defend bump stocks. I don't like a lot of speech out there, but I'm going to stand up and I'm going to fight for that speech. So we have that, right? And we have the War Powers Act of 1974, 73, one of the two. But the War Powers Act, which is an unconstitutional thing to begin with, but that's talking about the president having 60 days of unauthorized war in countries before Congress is even able to resend the troops or resend the money for the troops. You should have a cannon if you want. Absolutely agree. And when President Trump decided to drop bombs on Syria, everyone goes, well, it was justified because it was needed, because, the Geneva Convention, because there were gases and everything else. And it's like, well, Congress should have been able to say, hey, let's have a declaration of war. Or, hey, let's have a declaration of attack, of an intent. And instead of just giving the President of the United States unadulterated power, authority to utilize the military in any way, shape, or form. Right? Because, yes, he is the commander-in-chief because we're at times of war, but just because you're the President of the United States, in accordance with Article 2, Section 2, you are not the commander-in-chief when not asked to be in service. So if we're not at war, you're not a commander-in-chief. There's really three titles of the presidency, right? President of the United States, leader of the free world, and, of course, commander-in-chief. Commander-in-chief is only at times of war. So, the constitutionality and the purposes, the tenor, the intent of the Constitution must be adhered to for the Republican Party. If you want to talk about Democrats, look at any social safety program that they were trying to advocate for. Completely against it. AAL from New York City, what's up? How's it going, man? The social safety nets that are enacted and that are provided by the funding of the federal taxpayers, right? Those are all unconstitutional in accordance with Article 1, Section 8. So we have both parties that are just tearing away, just continually diminishing the words and the intent of the Constitution. And then people want to grandstand and say, I love the Constitution and we need to adhere to it whenever I want to adhere to it. And what my call to action to everyone is look at your own stances, read the Constitution, and find out where it is enumerated of what you want. If it's not enumerated, it's not a power delegated to them. It would fall to the 10th Amendment, right? And if you don't believe me, read the 10th Amendment, and then also understand that they don't have that authority because of Article 6, Clause 2, right? The Supremacy Clause. This Constitution and any laws and the pursuance thereof shall be the supreme law of the land, which means everything else is inferior, which means that it is the governing unadulterated. My bad. It falls in that way. So check yourself before you wreck yourself. Make sure that we are all advocating for the right things. If you want to see a change to the Constitution, what do? Right? You look at Article 5 and you go, I would like to make an amendment. I would like to see this changes. Write to your members of Congress. Advocate for these changes. I'm okay with the changes. You want to make changes? I'll argue against your changes, or I will argue with your changes. Turns out I'm against a lot of the changes that were made, but I'm okay with some of them. So it is what it is. And I really wish that more people would wake up to what the Constitution and what its purpose is. So if anyone else wants to call in real quick, I'm going to go in probably 4 minutes. So I'll leave it open for about four more minutes for you guys if you guys want to talk. If not, I'll be bouncing out of here. Hope you guys have all somewhat enjoyed the trollery that we've had, some of the discussions we've had. They've been interesting for sure. Unadulterated. Yep. Can't believe I messed that one up. But if not, there's so much wisdom in the Constitution. You're absolutely right, Pink Floyd. There's too much wisdom in the Constitution. There's too much wisdom in the Constitution for us to just simply ignore. And here's the challenge, right? If you guys don't believe that there's not that much wisdom in the Constitution, go look at the annotated Constitution. It's 3,000 pages long. And it talks about all of the Supreme Court decisions and everything else that are regarding with these special within the clauses and within the amendment. Do our rights really matter at this point when moderation? Yes, our rights will always matter. Why do rights always matter? Because when you have to have a basis as to what level of freedom should be warranted, and then if you really think that you can see, because you have to have a starting point, and your starting point should never be a totalitarian government. Your starting point should be absolutely freedom, and then you have to justify your way towards the totalitarian, right? Because those all take levels of action. It takes no action whatsoever to have a free nation. It takes absolutely no action whatsoever. To let somebody to be free and to do what they want to do, that is merely them existing. So you have to justify at any point of infringing upon those people. I'm so sorry to hear about that, Colleen. You're good. So 100% rights are very important. Understand what a natural right is, understand what negative rights are and positive rights are. You have to understand these, and it's only for the betterment, right? Learning more is never going to be bad for you. And it is so big. So terribly sorry, Colleen. Yes, if you guys do pray for Colleen, for her time right now. She obviously needs a lot of strength and a lot of support right now, and so please do help her out. Why should we have to fight for those freedoms in 2018? Foundation should be solid. Should be solid and is solid are definitely two different ideas. Certainly we should have this foundation. We should have the foundation of what our country was founded upon, and that is individual liberty. But instead we have a lot of grotesque people that like to have control over your lives, and they say, look, I would be better at controlling your life than you would. And they, by the failures of democracy, the failures of our republic, have been able to come into power and being able to subvert the people and also take control over you. And so understanding where the baseline should be is important to be able to fight back to get to that. No, you're absolutely fine, Colleen. Not a problem. And so, yes, I completely agree. It's never been solid. I agree. Should be. And it's that's what I'm advocating for. I'm advocating so you could be free, so you don't have to like go through and pay an exorbitant amount of money to be able to protect yourself, to be able to provide for your family. You shouldn't have to be paying for other families, because this, let's be honest, right? It's a struggle out there. It's really difficult to take care of yourself, especially when so many other people are being forcefully being taken care of by you as well, right? Allow you to take care of yourself. You'll take much better care of yourself than other people will, because you care a little bit more about yourself than they do. And so give you back that freedom, give you back that rights, and then you can donate and you can support out others as you see fit. You can give out to others. You can provide to others. You can be charitable. And we saw that a lot in the last couple of weeks. We see that every time Christmas comes around, we see people donating and being charitable whether it's for a political ideology or whether it's for like actual homelessness, for veterans, or even for a wall. When we allow you to decide where your money goes to, no one can argue about like how immoral you are. If you want to spend your money, they have no right to tell you what to do with it. Oh yeah, I agree. It's one power with far opposing views. Yes, both. Well, no, I would say it's one party, because both the Democratic Party and the Republican Party are so close together. They both agree with being fiscally irresponsible. They both agree with blowing out what the government has control over. They both agree that the Constitution is just merely a stepping stone or a piece of toilet paper in which they get to do as they please. Completely agree. The Commerce Clause is probably the most abused sentence in the Constitution. I would say between the Interstate Commerce Clause and then the other one, it would be the General Welfare Clause, and probably also the Second Amendment itself. Like it's just been bastardized in so many different ways. And so the original revolution, you're absolutely on point with that. I think accountability needs to be enforced minimally, at least. I don't think that accountability should be enforced at all, right? Because I don't think that we should tell people, hey, because you're not accountable to yourself, right? So, well, here, let me rephrase that more properly. If you are not hurting somebody else, if you're not affecting other people, I don't think that we should be enforcing you to be accountable, right? If you suck at life and you don't want to work and you want to live on the streets, you do what you want to do, boo-boo. Don't come on my property. But if you are aggressing against others, you are infringing upon others because you want to live off of the work and the labor of others, right? I'm going to hold you accountable. So, before we start choosing sides and candidates, I would fight for Reconstruction. Absolutely. I plan on running, and when I do run, right, that's going to be my platform, is just to re-invoke the Constitution, to bring that back in, and to say, if you can't justify your stuff off the blatant terms, the clear phrasing of the terms and definitions that are within the Constitution, you can't do that. If you have to wiggle your processes, your departments into this, then they're gone. And let's get back to actually caring about this stuff. So, I appreciate you hopping in here, Al. So it's disgusting. It's just truly disgusting right now. Thank you, Colleen. So it is what it is. All right, guys. So it is a little after 2. No one wanted to call in. That's fine. Next time I'll see you guys is Friday night, 7 p.m. Eastern. So that's tomorrow night, 7 p.m. Eastern. We'll have a nice show. I've got a couple more big talking points, so we'll have those, and we'll see if some other big news pops up in the interim. So have a great night. I'll see you guys tomorrow night. I am Mr. Merca, the Bearded Truth, Jason Lyon. Have a great night, and I'll see you then.